I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angi. So we have an app inside of ChatGPT. So you can tailor inside of ChatGPT to Angi. So you can continue that agentic experience where you are talking in your own words and we are helping you. And I'm back here with Monica Langley with Office Hours Business Edition to talk about business performance, the economy, and AI.
Let's talk about the company's performance. In Q1 26, when you looked at the business actual performance, the revenue declined about 3% year over year. What caused that, and what pressures did that show in the home services market?
Yeah. So it stemmed from a focus we've had over the last couple of years of really reining in the quality on the marketplace. We wanted to make sure that when we were getting homeowners from good marketing channels with high intent that wanted to hire contractors. So we focused on the customer experience the last couple of years, and also really focused in on where we wanted to market and focused much more on proprietary channels. So some of that was us just cutting away some things that we just chose to walk away from there, interestingly enough. So it was kind of like resetting the standard for which we wanted Angi to operate from.
So does that mean better projects but less projects, or?
Exactly. So
Okay.
we just walked away from some of the traffic that we just felt wasn't at the quality standards that we wanted, and wanted to focus on, because it's the two-sided marketplace. We want homeowners to find the pros they want. We want pros to be able to build a good business, and making sure that those connections are great.
So you knew you would take something of a short-term hit?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The Angi Q1 shareholder letter was bold, it was future focused, and it was very like, we're going to get this done.
Right.
And that was stated by your CEO.
Correct.
And as a former Wall Street Journal reporter and corporate executive, I really admired the way that shareholder letter worked. It was direct, to the point, and very clear.
Yeah. I mean, what we realize is there's just a real opportunity right now when it comes to AI. And, we've been in the business long enough that we've seen so many of these, kind of technology advancements and changes that, you gotta take advantage of them when they happen. And, we see from a future perspective that AI can play a really great role in our marketplace. We've already started implementing it from a homeowner perspective, but where we really see the opportunity is how it can help the pros. Because the pros are the ones that, as I've mentioned, they're 4 or 5 people in a company more often than there are where there are 300, but there are, lots of small pros, and, they're passionate about their trade. If they're a painter, they want to spend the majority of their time painting, but there's all this front office stuff. They've got to go figure out how to market their business. They have to estimate, they have to return calls from customers, and there's a lot of work that they have to go do. And what we've learned over the years is how the pros that really succeed become good at that so that they can maximize their time on jobs.
How will you help them with that, though? I do get your point that they're not AI focused, but it is the future.
It is,
and it's here.
It is, and it's like, all too often, you have a plumber or a painter at your house. They're on a ladder and they are taking a call from a future customer. Like they are the kings of multitaskers. So
on a ladder,
exactly, on a ladder, which is dangerous. Let's not talk about that. So what we really want to do is what we're calling the Pro CRO, which is going to help enable tools and agents to help those pros.
So
the
that
first
would be
one,
your chief revenue officer.
Exactly.
You kind of do that for them.
Yeah.
And would they pay you extra for that?
So
Is that going to be a new service?
So it's going to be an additional service, and we'll, to start out, we'll roll it out as part of the service they receive. It can be, and it's become something that we can grow with and could potentially become a revenue stream in the future.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So our goal is like, how do we help them? Like, we know that they need to make the initial call back to a homeowner really fast, because a lot of times homeowners make their decision fast once they decide to go. So like we're working right now on an agent that can do that for them. So they could kind of make that initial call, get an appointment set up that'll integrate back into their calendar, which is a huge time saver.
When at the beginning you pick the pros, how do you guarantee, or not guarantee, but do the best possible to make sure they are, do you check them with the BBB? They are certified? I don't know what goes into picking the pros, because trust is essential, and you're scaling it.
Exactly. And for us, and this is something that's always important to remind our team. It's not that we made the match. It's that the job got done well.
Oh, that's
end point
interesting.
is, so sometimes you might think,
you can be, yes, they're matched.
Because that's all outside of our realm, but that's actually what determines whether the pro is getting good work, whether the homeowner's coming back to Angi to get their next pro. So it's actually that final in-home moment is actually what we're focused on. That's the prize. But
that's interesting. And reviews matter.
And reviews matter. And reviews still play an important role. So your point about how we, make sure how we think about the pros that we're bringing into the network. I mean, we want, we're going to kind of verify their identity, check their background. We will also check their licensure if licensing is required for the trade they're taking on. And then there is an ongoing process where we're collecting reviews, monitoring the reviews, looking for trends. And, we're not afraid to take action if we see a pro that like, hey, they were doing fine, but, maybe not anymore. We want to make sure that we're taking action. So it's a system that continually self-monitors.
Now, let's talk about your stock. It's been relatively volatile. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's because, is it that you're at the whim of the economy and housing, interest rates? I mean, that's out of your control.
Yeah. And, when I think about the business, I think about, hey, you can watch the stock price all the time, but really you need to think about where it's headed in the long term, right? It's like, and that's our philosophy is like, hey, you might get some volatility, but in the long term, where are you headed and what's your opportunity? And that's where you need to keep your eye.
So do you think that the skeptics then are wrong when they say, well, we need to cut their price target and all that? I mean, how do you deal with people making judgments and if it affects your price?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is one of those things where you have to, make sure that you're not letting all of this noise kind of over-influence what you're doing, because you can become really reactionary and, start to kind of change things. And,
Mm-hmm.
We looked at the, as we talked about in the shareholder letter, like we want to focus on the long term because we see kind of a real chance to kind of make some interesting product here and focus on some interesting opportunities. So, you gotta make sure you balance and kind of, don't let it get in your head.
Exactly. And it seems like if you don't check your stock price every day, you're not letting it get in your head.
Maybe not. And maybe that was my Midwestern starting of a business. Because I will be honest, Monica, we started, in Ohio. We moved the headquarters to Indianapolis a few years later. And, I was fortunate that Bill came out of a venture capital background. So when he came on board in the business, the one piece of advice he always had was like, you do not raise money when you need it. You raise money when you don't need it. And it's so true. You need to be picky about who you choose to be your partners, especially in a private scenario. I mean, we had people that did not believe we could build this business in Indianapolis. And, fortunately, we were allowed to walk away from that VC money and say, you know what, this deal's not going to work for us because we do know we can do this. And when you're in the Midwest, it was like, we got to stay more heads down and stay focused, and we're kind of outside of the flurry of activity that would happen on the coast. So I'm proud of what we were able to build from a Midwest perspective.
When you say if you focus on the stock price and all the outside forces, you become reactionary. I wrote a book many years ago, 20 years ago, on Sandy Weil, the founder of Citigroup.
Yep.
And if I'm in the office with him, and I put this in the book, he had the ticker sitting next to his chair. And he was always, never looked at you for more than 5 minutes because he was checking the ticker price.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And maybe it's because I'm a marketer and not a finance person.
Oh, could be.
Could be.
Okay, interesting. But a good development recently was Berkshire Hathaway acquired Taylor Morrison, which is a leading U.S. home builder. And that pushed your stock up 8%. But it maybe signaled their Berkshire Hathaway's purchase that home adjacent businesses are
Yeah.
going to flourish. We'll
Yeah.
get into more of that.
Yeah.
But on the implications of AI in your business, which your shareholder letter was completely focused on that,
Right.
as it should be.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the gigantic opportunity for AI to enable the pros to get more jobs. And the letter said there's a $25 billion market for you to unlock, $25 billion for you to unlock on your platform today.
Right.
And it said this would require no new homeowners, no new pros, no new markets.
Right.
How is that?
Yeah, it's really about making sure that process from like, hey, from match to selection is improved, right? It's like, homeowners come looking for a pro. They might decide to hire a pro. They might not decide. They might decide to DIY it. They might decide to hire a pro from somewhere else. They ask their friends or neighbors. It's like, so it's how do we kind of make sure that we are delivering and that the pros are picking up the opportunities that are coming our way. So that's where we see our pro CRO being an opportunity to help pros kind of become much more efficient at that process and really implement more best practices to make sure that we are helping them kind of close the deal all the way through.
The CRO business how long has that been going on, or are you just launching it?
We're just getting ready to put it into test. We're starting with our smallest pros, and we're starting with an agent that will call and help with scheduling, and then we'll continue to book out and develop agents that'll potentially help with estimating, or potentially, help receiving calls versus doing outbound calls.
So this is agentic.
Yes.
Work,
right?
Basically,
exactly.
Not human beings.
Not
this
human
is
beings.
AI.
This is AI. Exactly. We were building agents that will make the call and be able to.
What's your
schedule.
hope for this business then? I mean, this is new to me. I haven't seen it.
It's an opportunity to really unlock, kind of some real technology potential for the home improvement industry, right? I mean, these are small businesses, especially the small ones that don't have a lot of technology in their business. AI is creating an opportunity to help them embrace that technology. And we believe that as a partner to, so many pros across the U.S., that this is a way for us to help enable them in this technology.
It sounds like it makes sense. Do you think it's going to be money making?
Well, I think it's twofold. I mean, it could be money making in and of itself, but it also could just make our flywheel work better. So if you think about it, if homeowners are getting the pros they need, they're coming back. And if the pros are building their business, they're coming back. And all of a sudden that will create a benefit to the business and drive performance just in that respect.
AI also, though, there's debate now on its effect on labor.
Yeah.
And Angie recently cut back, I think, 15%, up to 15% of your employees.
Early in January,
due to AI.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that continuing or not?
No, I mean, from an employee standpoint, we feel like we've got a good base of people that we think can kind of help us manage. Our view of AI is really it's going to allow us to grow faster. It's going to allow us to accomplish things more. I mean, that's why we wanted to make sure that we got all of our product and tech folks focused on our AI development versus working on the existing platform in the meantime. So, we feel really, excited about kind of the size of the team and where we can go. And I think there's also a good point in just as you engage in AI and thinking about AI, AI is going to be a fantastic enabler, but it's always going to need its human oversight, right? It's like, there's always those points. And like, how do you insert kind of that high touch human experience that helps to make it all work even better?
Speaking of human experience, I mean, the positive side of AI is you have skilled labor at the heart. I'm not going to have a robot come fix my sink.
It's going to be a long time before that happens. Yeah.
So, they are the ones least likely to be impacted by AI, I think.
Yes.
So, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I think, when it comes to actual doing the trade, you're exactly right. I mean, AI is not going to replace that anytime soon. And in fact, we have a labor shortage in the trade. So I would encourage people to think about a path in the trades. It can be incredibly rewarding. And, it's interesting in our last survey where we were looking at this, the Gen Z population, like there are elements of the trades that are really attractive to them. I feel like the trades kind of got a bad rap for a long
did.
time.
You were
There
supposed
was
to go to college
you
and
were
get
like, you
other
had
kind of
to.
job.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when I interviewed Jim Farley, the Ford CEO,
Right.
for office hours, he talked about he has so many positions available that
Right.
make 100,000 or
Yes.
more a year,
Yes.
and he can't fill them.
Right.
And he is big on the quote essential economy
Right.
that requires skilled.
Exactly.
Trades.
Exactly. And it's the element of like, hey, you could be an entrepreneur going into the skilled trades. You're going to own your own business.
Yeah.
Where it's something that can be really fulfilling that way. And I was talking to one pro one time, and he was like, we like to drive around, and sometimes our team will just look at the projects we've done. Like, it's a tangible part of the community. Like I can look around and see the imprint we're leaving on this community. And so, we're starting to see a lot more interest into the trades, which is fantastic. I think some of the work that we're doing on this pro CRO, I think can also help to combat the labor shortage because it allows the tradespeople to spend more time actually doing the trade. So you're going to get more of their time. So today, if we're getting, 2/3 of their time, we can move it to 75% of their time, 80% of their time, and they're doing more of what they love.
That's why they're in the business.
Exactly.
Okay. Now let's move to AI and voice. How are you incorporating that into Angi?
Videos, pictures, voice, they all kind of play a role in this. So we think about it from the homeowner's perspective a lot. And then with these agentic, these agents that we'll build for the pros, I mean, it's still a lot of call-based activity. The hiring a pro is a lot of call-based. So we will have agents that are making calls, and so it will be very voice activated because it's very comfortable for people to talk in that way.
Now, also, Angi created an app within ChatGPT?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that work? I don't think when I was going on to hire a pro, I saw that. Maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, I have ChatGPT, but I didn't look there for Angi.
Yeah. So we have an app inside of ChatGPT, so you can tailor inside of ChatGPT to Angi and be able to get connected to pros, and then you will be pulled into the Angi AI helper as well once you integrate with Angi, so you can continue that agentic experience where you are talking in your own words and we are helping you. So end to end.
Well, okay. But even now, when I went on and it says, what's your project? I typed it and then they gave it back to me much better than the way I described it, more that a contractor would understand.
Exactly.
As opposed to homeowner, like, these steps are falling down. They're like, okay, so you need a reconstruction, and they...
Yeah, because some things you're like, I want to have my air conditioner tuned up. You could probably I need an HVAC company. You as a homeowner understand that, but like, I think I need a gas line moved. Who does that?
Yeah.
Like the average homeowner may not know that. So, tell us what it is, and then we're going to be like, you know what, you need a plumber.
So in addition to the CRO for the pros, what other ways or new developments, new products are you going to be using AI for?
Yeah, so we're continuing to partner, with other, LLMs in order to kind of continue to expand where homeowners are. So you'll see more of those coming out. We had announced that we're building one right now for Amazon Alexa as well. So we will have another one coming out later this year.
I use Alexa all the time.
Yeah,
but it's usually like turn on such hits. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Or play Teddy Swims, my favorite.
Yeah. But you might also say, like, get me a dinner reservation at blah, 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 right? Or, I need a plumber. I've got a leaky faucet. It's like...
And will it go to Angi?
Exactly.
Alexa,
yes.
Does it do it now?
We're actually in the process of, we announced that we're building it. We're in the process of building it right now. Yep.
So when will I actually be able to use it?
Later in the year. Later in the year. Yep.
Okay, good. Well, I look forward to learning more.
Yeah, so you don't even have to type. You're just going to tell Alexa, and Alexa will get in touch with Angi, and they will get it done.
Okay, thank you.